Today's show is brought to you by Boat Patana of Boat Avenue and Shambhala, Phuket. For more information on their properties, see the link in the description below. Good morning, Thailand. Thank you for joining us on Wednesday, hump day, middle of the week. And good morning to Jay.
Hello, good morning.
We've shuffled things around a bit in this room to try and make a little bit more space. Also introduced a green screen, which is over there. Here's a shot of what it looks like from our point of view. And we're trying just to sort of mix things up a bit. At some stage, we hope to have a new set, which is sort of going to be like a kitchen breakfast set. Yeah. But that's sort of on the way. But we will get there. In the meantime, you're going to have to put up with the Venetian blinds. Thank you very much to our sponsors, Shambhala, and there's a link under this video if you'd like to find out more about those properties. And, Jay, let's start with the COVID numbers around Thailand.
So for Thailand today, we have 21,038 new COVID infections. We have 207 unfortunate COVID-related deaths, and 173 of those infections were found in prison inmates. Now, we had a total of 22,012 people who fully recovered and were discharged from hospitals. However, currently we still have 210,000 people still in care.
I'm thinking that 200 number for COVID-related deaths, and it's a very sad situation, of course, for all those people involved. But I see that as a bit of a milestone, and I think it's going to be or set about another row of restrictions and things, another round. That 200 number is something we really need to get the deaths under. But because we had the build up, the 15, 16, 17, up to 22,000 cases in the last week, that will result, I believe, in more of those high number of deaths each day, for the short term anyway. All right, my in-depth analysis. So anyway, that's enough of those figures. Now, there is another big story around today, and Jay, you've been investigating.
Yes, well, Tim, I'm sorry to dampen the mood, but in more serious news, America's most popular fashion brand, Barbie, has done something very naughty. So, for the Tokyo 20...
Fashion brand?
No, not the fashion brand, the doll.
The doll?
Barbie doll, yes.
Right.
So for the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, they came up with a new theme where they wanted to make 5 new dolls for the 5 new sports added to the Olympics to empower women and to highlight women in sports.
And to sell Barbie dolls.
And to sell Barbie dolls, exactly. However, Mattel, the company that makes the Barbie dolls, went out to say that, we want this to be, we believe in the power of representation, and this is Barbie's most diverse and inclusive doll collection. So they made the dolls. However, they forgot a very important aspect of making the dolls, which was they forgot to include an Asian Barbie doll.
Oh dear, and it was the Tokyo Olympics.
Exactly. So they included all different skin colors and different types of, ethnicities and nationalities. However, they forgot the main one.
They forgot around about half the world's population.
And, the world has kind of taken over in the current days of social media. They're receiving abuse, criticism from everyone around the world, saying that how could someone let this happen?
Well, I have to say, as I look at those photos, that's a bit hard to sort of tell, looking at the eyes, if they're Asian or not. I mean, I get the idea that they're not obviously Asian models.
Yes. But the thing is, they've been doing this for many, many years. If they wanted to make an Asian doll, they can clearly make an Asian doll.
Now, just researching this very important news story, Jay, I noticed when you go to YouTube and you punch in Barbie Tokyo 2020, 2021 or whatever it is, that there were hundreds of reviews, people with no irony whatsoever, giving serious reviews about these Barbie doll releases. I mean, it's obviously still a thing, and there are still people collecting Barbies and Barbie-mobiles and things.
Well, I guess, Barbies have always been a girly thing.
Do your sisters have Barbie dolls?
No, she's a lot more sporty.
She could have
into-
sporty
she-
Barbie.
She's into different things. No, she's not into dolls.
Okay.
But I mean, I understand.
Are you into dolls? You got Barbies?
No, definitely
No,
not.
I'm just checking.
That's between us.
Okay.
We don't talk about it. Right. However, I can understand the criticism that Mattel is getting, because the younger generation, especially, like, there's so much racism and so many minorities don't get represented, that's why they're making some noise. I don't think the issue would be as big as it is now, because we're trying to normalize this, aren't we? Everything just becomes a lot more bigger because people just want to fight for their rights. They want to be represented, and they're using this to make some noise to
Do you have
get
to
the
have
word
a
out
Barbie
there.
for every minority, for every ethnicity?
No, but if you're going to say you're going to be inclusive and you're going to represent everyone, then represent everyone, right? If you're going to say, I'm just making sporting dolls, that's fine. But don't say you'll do something and then not do it.
Well, as I said, if you want a Barbie doll for every single country, for every single ethnicity, for every minority group, you want the GLBTIQ Barbie, you'd be going all day.
It makes it worse because it was for the Olympics, and the Olympics is all about all the countries coming together. So that was the one time they shouldn't have messed up.
Now, yesterday we spoke about another vital issue, which was the Thai government's suggestions on how we should be having sex. And some of us thought it was hilarious, and it was. But the story we did at the Thaiger has also made its way onto German media. So they're now talking about these strange government officials who've been sitting in dark rooms all by themselves, coming up with these ways of...
Innovative ways.
Yeah. Eric M. wrote to us also, and he said, there's nothing says I love you like the snap of rubber gloves. Thanks very much, Eric M. Right, we're going to check out our local headlines, then I'll come back and we'll have a look at some of the main stories from this morning, reminding you that Good Morning Thailand is all about bringing you the latest news from around the region, a little bit of funny stuff as well, and from Thailand each morning. That's coming up after this, thanks to our sponsor at Shambhala.
In today's headlines, starting at the northeast of Thailand, a man was shot and killed in the Maha Sarakham rice field. The Royal Thai Police is reminding and letting people know that a mixture of finger root candy and zinc is not a cure for COVID. The Thai think tank is suggesting that almost 1 million people will be unemployed by the end of the year. Police in Bangkok have advised motorbike drivers in the mob protest to take alternative routes to avoid traffic congestion. A COVID care center is going to be set up in Phuket for all the asymptomatic patients of COVID-19. And welcome back to Good Morning Thailand. It's now time for the top stories with Tim.
Thanks, Jay. Any hopes for a Thai tourism recovery are now all but dashed for Q3 this year, whether it be the increased travel restrictions across the country, rising COVID stats, bad international publicity over the murder of the Swiss woman, or the waning numbers for the Sandbox and Samui Plus. In Phuket, there are now 611 COVID patients taking up bed space in local hospitals, an occupancy of nearly 70% of the island's available beds. Krabi, Koh Samui and Phang Nga were meant to be part of the 7+7 Phuket Sandbox extension on August the 15th. The scheme would have allowed sandboxers to travel to other islands and adjacent provinces after spending their first 7 days in Phuket. But with the US CDC upgrading their travel warnings for Thailand and other feeder tourist markets in Asia also showing increased COVID loads, the hopes of tourism operators and hotel chains appear bleak for at least the next few months. As Thailand's Public Health Ministry looks to an executive decree to provide COVID healthcare professionals an amnesty from legal liability, a government spokesperson says the government has not made up its mind over the proposal. The draft executive decree, which would limit the liability of public health workers handling COVID-19 patients, is still under review by the Cabinet. A full review is currently underway by health workers and public reviews, according to the spokesperson. He was responding to concerns raised over the possibility of the draft decree being rushed. Responding to social media commentary on the matter, the Deputy PM and Public Health Minister Anatun made it clear yesterday the executive decree is intended to protect healthcare professionals, not him specifically. Police say they are still investigating the death of a 36-year-old man after the discovery of his body in a rice field in Maha Sarakham, northeast Thailand. Police say the man was a woodcutter. Reports say the man was shot 5 times, 1 wound in his neck, 1 in the back and 3 shots in his torso. His mother told police she had last seen her son on Sunday. I wonder if the TAT are going to hold a candlelight vigil over the man's death. Probably not. The north, the upper northeast, the east and the southern west coast, basically everywhere, are set for some wetter weather over the forecast period, according to the Thai Meteorological Department. They've forecast thunder showers with isolated heavy rain as the southwest monsoon prevails across the country, especially over the Andaman Sea and the Gulf of Thailand. They've advised all ships to proceed with caution as waves in the Andaman Sea and the upper Gulf of Thailand could reach up to 2 metres during thunder showers. Basically, expect some rain and take an umbrella with you. Over the next few days, we'll have today's weather around the country a bit later in the bulletin. But for now, back to Jay, and we'll check out all your comments right after this on Good Morning Thailand.
China's COVID-19 infections have hit a 7-month high after a cluster was found at a test site. But the daily numbers still are in the low 100s. The Indonesian government has extended its COVID restrictions on Java and Bali until August the 16th, but will ease them in 26 areas, including the capital city of Jakarta. The Japanese authorities have apologized and vowed to make a reform after a Sri Lankan immigration detainee dies. The Justice Minister has pledged a full investigation into the matter. Videos have emerged showing Chinese authorities locking people up inside their homes as Delta virus numbers start to rise in certain areas in China, including the city of Wuhan. Myanmar's healthcare crisis leaves expecting mothers stranded and at risk. A lot of mothers in labor going from one hospital to another.
Thanks for joining us on Good Morning Thailand. It's Wednesday and we appreciate you being with us. I should mention that tomorrow is a public holiday in Thailand. I believe it's the former Queen. I think she's called the Queen Mother now. Yes. It's her birthday. So she's getting on, but it is her birthday tomorrow. It's a public holiday in Thailand. So I'll be doing a Ask Tim Anything version of Good Morning Thailand tomorrow morning at about 9 o'clock. And then tomorrow afternoon, we'll do a Thailand News Today light version, just so we can keep you informed with what's happening around Thailand, even though it's a public holiday. These guys have got to have a day off, so what can I do? Okay, to the comments. You got a few comments there?
Yeah, sure, Tim. I'll start off with Eric M, who commented on Thailand News Today yesterday on the news of AstraZeneca from Siam Bioscience, who's making the AstraZeneca vaccine.
This is the same Eric M who says nothing, says I love you like the snap of rubber gloves.
That is correct.
Okay.
Thank you for tuning in, Eric. He says, Thailand is exporting vaccines, !
Yes, Siam Bioscience, which is partially funded and sponsored by the royal palace, by the monarchy, sort of came into being because they were given orders by a lot of other countries, Taiwan being one of them. So it was set up as a regional arm of AstraZeneca and to be the local manufacturing hub. But there are some scientists and doctors in Thailand now saying, at the moment, we can't afford to export, we're going to keep them all here for our own local use, but that would break the contracts with all these other countries. So I'm not sure what's going to happen there. Yeah. But yeah, that they are exporting AstraZeneca vaccines from Thailand.
And I guess that's where the frustration comes from, because we have a lack of vaccines and yet we're exporting them.
Yeah, but a contract to contract.
Yes. Moving on to more lighter topics, I got some comments from Good Morning Thailand yesterday. Leo Cudmore says, No normal couple will follow any of those sex guidelines. Completely ridiculous and not going to happen. Well, Leo, perhaps you should, perhaps you shouldn't. I'll let you judge. I mean, they were very serious about it.
Basically, the guideline said you had to wear rubber gloves, a mask. You weren't allowed to get within 1.5 metres of any particular part of the body. So it made it pretty difficult. And some of the drawings of how you should be having sex were slightly hilarious.
Yes, which you can find on thetiger.com. Another comment from SS who says something that I can very much relate with. SS says, only in Thailand, a new sex guide. Now, you've got to love Thailand. I mean, this is a prime example of only in Thailand, because while the rest of the world and all the countries around the world have participated and done many things for COVID-19, help share, Thailand will forever be known as the country who shared or came up with a guideline on how to have sex during COVID. I mean,
I want to see the memo that said, hi, Department of Sex Positions, could you please have an urgent meeting and make some notes and get an artist to draw some illustrations. Here are the rough guidelines, or actually what we've done is we've brought a couple into the office to show you the positions we'd like you to draw and include in the infographic. I mean, how did it all work? And did they sit there stone-faced going, very serious, yes, or we need to make sure we're wearing rubber gloves? It just seems farcical to me that they even bothered with this.
I can't even come up with an excuse. Was it a loss in translation? Do they need to... I don't know. Only in Thailand, that's all I'm going to say.
But even more importantly, are there any couples out there who are following the guidelines? And if you are, please send photos. I've got one here from Ubon2530. I bet they do. I bet they send photos.
Please don't.
Okay, this is another comment from Ubon2530, and it's in regard to a story that was in the media yesterday saying that the Royal Thai Police have determined that the use of finger root combined with zinc tablets for a cure or a medication for COVID-19 is fake news. Do you know what finger root is?
Yes.
It sort of looks like a parsnip, I'd say.
Yeah, it's like...
it's a root vegetable.
Yeah, vegetable, yeah.
And it's called finger root because it's sort of a finger shape. I can't imagine it would taste very good. So a finger root flavoured candy...
Yeah. It's not that bad. I mean... finger root is commonly found in Asia, Chinese food, and, so it's very common here.
Yeah, but I don't know about its medicinal qualities. Obviously, there are people out there in the homeopathy sort of field who believe that finger root is perhaps better than just being a root vegetable. It has some magical properties. But Ubon says, I can't believe this needs to be reported. How dumb can you get? Yeah, the whole area of homeopathy and herbal medicine has taken a bit of a pounding over the past 30 or 40 years as various studies and scientific proper evidence, experiments has shown that most of these claims are largely unsupported. Which brings me to this next one from We Are Free, who says, okay, it's banned. Where are the stats and studies they've done to back up this claim? I swear to God, these incompetent people are just making it up as they go. Just like ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine. There are stats and anecdotal studies to show its effectiveness, but it's considered fake news. I think the real disinformation is coming from the governments and the people that run it. Well, okay, when you're talking about anecdotal studies, that's not a proper scientific examination. It's not endorsed by any FDAs. Both those particular drugs have been shown not to be effective against COVID-19, although they may be effective for other drugs. I get a number of comments and probably 2 or 3 emails a day pushing both these particular drugs as effective for COVID-19. Are the people that manufacture these drugs hiring people to troll the internet and push their use? Because study after study and peer-reviewed studies have shown that they're not effective for something like COVID-19. So why do people keep on pushing it? Are they real people who strongly believe this, or are they just trolls?
A little bit of both.
That's all I've got as far as comments are concerned. You got any there?
I'm done for today.
All right. So thank you very much for joining us both with another Good Morning Thailand. As I said, tomorrow we're going to come back with sort of light versions of both programs. But from everybody here at Thaiger Central, thanks, Jay.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Jason, for pressing the buttons. I'm still sort of getting used to where everybody's sitting. And thank you for watching. And we look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Travelling around the country today and checking out the weather, only one province with anything we would describe as slightly bad air. I wonder where that is. But starting in the capital, and we've got 34 degrees for the next 3 days, quite high low temperatures too, bit of sunshine, cloud and rain in the capital. Down to the southern island of Phuket and the Sandbox, we've got temperatures of 28 degrees over the next 3 days, generally humid, and a few showers on each of the days in the forecast. Heading to Thailand's northeast and generally clear air, temperatures of 32 and 33, a little bit of sunshine, cloud and rain. Into the north and Chiang Mai with a slightly higher air quality reading of 54, temperatures of 31 and 32 down to 22 at night. In the central Gulf Coast, and temperatures between 31 and 33 over the next 3 days, very clear air, some rain and some sunshine, but generally overcast. And in Banglamung, the Pattaya region, and we've got 31 degrees for the next couple of days, down to 30 on Friday, temperatures down to 27 at night, and very clear skies.